What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Saturday, everybody. I hope everybody's doing okay. I had to rest a little bit and do some errands. That's why you're getting a video a little late today. But we got to talk about something that happened as I was on the live stream with Matthew Brown last night. Dan Farah was on one of the most important political talk shows in the US. Real Time with Bill Maher. If you guys know Bill Maher, he is a comedian who also is a political commentator at the same time. And he's had several different shows throughout his career. Right now, he has Real Time with Bill Maher. And Bill Maher has had always been very dismissive of the UFO subject, making jokes, and falling into the same types of tropes that people tend to fall when you don't know what you're looking at. But recently, and this was like there's been a bunch of clips of him talking about UFOs in more serious fashion. He's been talking about Three Eye Atlas as well. He seems really interested, and his platform is very important in my opinion. I don't really care what you think about him. He, as anybody who's that famous and who has his own opinions, he can be polarizing sometimes, but I do value that he does have people from different philosophies sit down and debate. And I really like that. That is really important to keep having. And I will always respect Bill Maher for that. So, given that he's been talking about UFOs, we found out recently that Dan Farah was going to be on his show promoting Age of Disclosure. And the interview dropped on Friday. So I'm going to show you a few clips that I think are important for this conversation. Because, for starters, Dan Farah appearing on this show, you can see the sea change that already happened just for him being on Real Time with Bill Maher. This is now you can now consider this film national conversation. And I know that we all have our reservations about this movie, about this adversarial tone that it's going to take, because as you can see, Dan Farah is very serious about this, and he does want for people to look at this as a potential threat. And I just want to find out what is making him and all the people involved in the project go that route, if it's that serious. But let's watch a clip first where Bill Maher talks about how AI is going to be significant for humanity as a next step. And if any of this is true, if NHI are real and they're really here, Bill Maher has an interesting theory of what could happen. And watch this exchange and let me know what you think, yeah? Shout out to Joe Murgia, the UFO Joe on X. He was the first one who uploaded the interview. And he also uploaded the exchange that Dan Farah had with author Michael Moynihan, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Bill Maher himself, about the conversation of aliens and demons, which you can see how there's like clear divide between people who are very, very religious and those who are not. And before you tell me anything that I'm against religion, yeah, I'm against organized religion. I don't question people's faiths. If you want to believe in the spaghetti monster, good for you. I don't question that. And I do respect people's faiths in whatever they want to believe. What I don't like is organized religion and what they've done historically. That's what I don't like. And I'll never change my mind about that. But spirituality and faith, I complete respect for anybody who wants to believe whatever they want. So here it is.
They seem to be very interested when we started to have nuclear technology. Now we have AI. Is it possible that we do get to this level where we're getting threatening to them with our intelligence, and that is when it's going to get, they're going to send Keanu Reeves to say, clearly they don't want to do it.
Yeah, it does seem like we're moving towards a crossroad. Like we're evolving technologically to the point where we're close to doing what they do.
I gotta say, the tone of the conversation is very serious, and there's a lot of people that watch this already, millions. The fact that it's now happening and now like your grandma and your uncle and your aunt who like Bill Maher just saw this. Imagine what's going through their heads. If you're like looking into this and you have family who are like conflicted by this, it would be a good time to just sit down and talk to them. I would say, because this was very impactful for a lot of people. I can already tell from the responses. So we need to be really careful of how we approach it because, yeah, I mean, watching officials talking about this seriously like this is going to be a really big impact.
Yet, again, our morals have not evolved. So
Well-
we could be viewed as a potential threat.
Plainly, we're not close to what they're doing. Maybe we will with AI, but all the stuff you're describing, the reason why it's so alarming is that we're not close. We don't even know what the fuck how they pull it off. I mean, how you do this stuff. So maybe we have a few years. I felt this was a very positive, even though some people would read it differently. They seem to have the technology, I learned from your movie, to turn off or on our nuclear weapons. There was an instance, was there not?
Yeah, there's been a few events where UAP activity over nuclear weapon sites has activated the missiles in some case and then turned them off in some case.
That's huge. Him talking about that right there is huge. And he's talking about the incident with Mr. Robert Salas.
And it's obviously a display of power of some sort. You know, your guess is as good as mine of what the intention is, but it's concerning.
Well, it's concerning also if they are going to be able to turn off our nuclear missiles. I say they can't get here soon enough. You know,
you can see Bill Maher's like predisposition for it to be something not as negative and catastrophic as others want to paint it. And I applaud that from him. Because, yeah, this is the philosophical difference that we find ourselves in right now amongst the people who think that something is going on. I don't know what you guys think.
to me, looks like they're saving us from ourselves. Possibly.
Yeah. It could be, you know, there's been different opinions voiced in my film, right? Some people say it's the
Right.
equivalent of adults taking matchsticks out of the hands of children, right? That's one way to look at it. Another way is they're concerned about our progress nuclearly and they're trying to deter us from moving forward.
So let me just be devil's advocate here, because I'm sure there are people saying, you know, well, what about the other side, the people who have skepticism and their arguments that they level against you? It could be, I don't know, it could be another power like China or Russia that has this technology that we don't have. I don't think that's really.
I think it's even more terrifying, because we know the intentions of our adversaries and they're not good. So if it turns out China leapfrogged us technologically by a lot,
they didn't.
right? They didn't, right?
Yeah,
but the person.
That's another philosophical difference that a lot of Americans struggle with. There's a lot of people that I talk to from within the UFO community that don't have a good appreciation for China. They think adversarially when they talk about China. And even though there's a lot of different proof that they are very, very technologically advanced, I don't know if more than the US, but they have advanced quite a bit. Whenever somebody who is really, really against them hears anything, they instantly jump and go, that's not true. That's impossible. Hell no. That's another philosophical difference, because I don't know what reality they're looking at. Just saying, yeah, China does export pretty shitty cars. They export them to Mexico and they're shitty, but they do have really, really good technology over there, state of the art. And there's just people in the US that just don't want to accept that. They don't think it's real, which is really weird.
But one of the really serious reveals in the film is that intelligence officials in our government and elected officials in our government have uncovered the fact that there is a deeply hidden UAP crash retrieval program, and they've been reverse engineering UAP. And there is, in fact, a program at adversarial nations as well. And so there's this essentially high-stakes secret Cold War race playing out right now to reverse engineer this technology. Some of the interview subjects in my film refer to it as the Manhattan Project on steroids, because the stakes are so high, but the public has no idea. So, you know, one of the things I hope comes out of this film is the public becoming aware of this situation, because these circumstances impact us all. But we all, for the most part, think it's not a serious issue. We think it's a joke, laugh at it.
I don't think it's a joke. I just don't, it does not seem to me like they have evil intent, at least not for now. And, given the state of humanity, I don't know if anybody could really do worse.
I mean, would you if you were an advanced non-human intelligent species, would you want us showing up on your front lawn?
Let's just leave that for now.
Bill seems more open to it not being that negative. I'm not saying that it's all positive or all negative by any means, but it's funny that during this conversation between these two people, they talked about this race for technology, and an aspect that they're not really discussing that much is the role that the tech billionaires play in all of this. And we can't ignore that. And if you guys don't remember, I'm just going to show you what Matthew Brown told me yesterday. This clip has to be paired with this because this is also what we're dealing with. There's a lot of very powerful people that many of them, I would guess, know what's going on, and they're not telling the rest of the population. And Matthew Brown, with this statement yesterday, made it clear that he's aware of this. And just listen to this. First, he responds to Carl Nell, saying that disclosure is over. And afterwards, he talks about the billionaires and the powerful people. And listen to what he says.
Last week, I think it was, I don't even know the time. Everyone last week was saying disclosure was dead. Carl Nell hopped on a call, I forget where, and said this cycle of disclosure is over, basically. Pack your bags and we're going to figure out what's next. And to that I say, I didn't hear no bell. This doesn't stop. No. I made my choice. I drew my line in the sand and I chose my team just because things are uncomfortable for certain segments. No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
What is dead is deep state disclosure. What is going to live is citizen-led disclosure. And
experiencers
citizens, right? Experiencers, absolutely a big part of that.
Yeah.
But deep state disclosure is dead. Don't want any more of that. They can go have their billionaire book clubs, have tea, and pretend that the world is getting better as it collapses around them, and then they can fuck off to their bunkers. That's how I think that the situation is.
Well, you guys wanted a fucking headline. There you have it. Yep, that happened. And we have to pair it with this because there's a lot of people, even within the control disclosure movement, that are elites as well, and that are talking about this and that are trying to get disclosure. If you guys don't remember, Dr. Hal Puthoff was once in a conference or a meeting with people who knew about this and wanted it out. Then they did like a pros and cons kind of thing, and they all decided it wasn't worth it. But think about that conference or that meeting that they had. The people involved that know about this are potentially part of this group that may or may not have it started with the Majestic 12, as they call it. I don't know if there are people within that group from today that just wanted some of this stuff out, and that's what the control disclosure was. But they're still part of that group, some of them, even though they're trying to do the right thing now. Or right thing, because we don't know what the interest is really behind it. So we have to be careful with that too. And another part that I wanted to talk to you guys about was when Bill Maher had Dan Farah talking to Michael Moynihan, the author, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, the politician. And you can see the difference in like religious belief and philosophical opinion between them, because when they start talking about demons and angels, Dan Farah tells the story that Jay Stratton has already said a number of times, where they urge him to stop doing this because it's demonic or something like that. And look at Marjorie Taylor Greene's reaction to this.
Gary, the part about the people at the Pentagon who say it's demons. Tell them that story. Tell them about the demons.
Yeah,
it's Halloween. Yes. Tell them about the demons. What is that, Dan? Go into that.
So in the film, one of the senior intelligence officials named Jay Stratton. He was the director of air and space warfare at the Defense Intelligence Agency, and then he ran the U.S. government's UAP task force. He tells a story about how he was trying to run this issue up the flagpole and bring attention to it.
At the Pentagon.
At the Pentagon, in a serious office space. And his superiors told him that they thought these things were demons and that he was doing the devil's work by looking into it. And on camera in the film, he says, I can't believe these words were coming out of their mouths. He's like, I'm briefing them on an advanced aerospace vehicle that's absolutely there. It's been spotted by trained observers like our Navy fighter pilots in their $80 million airplanes that we trust them with, right? It's been spotted on data collection systems like satellite and radar. And this guy's telling me it's a demon. It's insane. And he's like, my mind was blown, and this is something I'm dealing with inside of the government.
It's Halloween. Let me just ask the final question for the panel. Do you think demons and the devil are real?
Absolutely. I'm a Bible-believing Christian. I definitely, and I believe.
They started trying to laugh because initially, naturally, those who don't believe in that think it's a joke or scoff at it. And she was dead serious there. So listen to this exchange after she said that.
Those could be fallen angels.
All these things could be real.
Fallen angels.
And that was key for him to say that. All these things could be real. Because even if they're like multiple things happening or have happened throughout millennia, there's a possibility that the phenomenon plays with our perception. That's one. But there's also a possibility that, as Tom DeLonge said once, the universe is teeming with life, and not just the universe, other places. So, yeah, and listen to this.
Yeah,
The aliens are fallen angels.
That's possible. I think that's what they could be. That's what makes sense in my worldview.
Michael?
No.
And Michael, obviously, because his upbringing and his beliefs, he doesn't believe in that, and that's the reaction that you get from people like him. But yeah, there needs to be like a middle ground that we can get. That's why I asked Matthew Brown yesterday that question about God, because I think it's important, yes, to be respectful and to have your own opinion, but also to be very specific about the things you say when it comes to that, because it can be divisive sometimes and people scoff like this guy did. And we just need to be mindful that at the end of the day, we're only barely starting to scratch the surface of whatever this thing is. And we need to still keep every option at least a little bit open. That's just my opinion. Even though I believe something very specific, I know that I can't just dismiss everything. Stay curious, stay curious. But yeah, this movie, the main goal of a movie like this is to get it discussed in platforms like this one. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Farah already had booked other venues like Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers. I know that Lou did the Daily Show once too. That was good too because it received a lot of exposure. But I think that this might be part of the plan for this documentary rollout, to be on shows like this one. And whatever opinion you have about the documentary and about the intention of the documentary, I still think that on the positive side, the impact that it's going to have is going to be massive. And that's the main principal objective for this film, to get people interested in the topic. We can talk about intentions and semantics once more people are aware of this, of what's going on, and start asking more questions. Because right now, 5 to 10% of people in the world are vocal about this and think that something is happening. There's another percentage that I don't know that is curious mildly, but they don't think it's real. The rest of them just think it's just bullshit. And I think that seeing people so high ranking in the government and scientists and people from the intel community talking about this in serious fashion in such a big stage is really important, despite everything. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. What do you think the impact of this interview Dan Farah did on the Bill Maher show will be. Do you think it's going to reach more and more people that are going to start asking questions about this? Or do you think it's not going to have an effect? And tell me, if you are in New York City, Washington, D.C., or near the Los Angeles area, are you going to watch the movie on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of November? If you're going, let me know. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's all you need to do in order to help us, and it is what helps us the most, so thank you. But if you want to support us in other ways, there's a few links down there you can choose from. You can become a member on YouTube, or you can support us through KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always appreciated, so thank you. And that's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, stay curious and inquisitive like Bill Maher. Always. Bye.
Psicoactivo.